This morning on our special series, We the People, Hispanic Women and Breast Cancer. Maria Celeste Araras from our sister network, Telemundo's hit show Al Rojo Vivo, is here with more. Maria, it's so good to have you here.
Same here. Thank you so much. This is a great series. Natalie, nearly 2/3 of breast cancer cases in Hispanic women are detected by a self-exam, which typically means that they're being diagnosed with cancer at a later stage, which is more dangerous. Why is this happening? And what can be done to help Latinas discover cancer before it's too late? Here are some answers. 14 years ago, Maria Rubio detected a lump under her arm. But with no insurance, she returned to juggling jobs and family in San Francisco. 1 year later, Maria was diagnosed with breast cancer and had a mastectomy.
That happened to me, and when it happened to nobody.
Maria Rubio is our outreach coordinator for the Latina Breast Cancer Agency to encourage them to sign up for free cancer screening services.
Hacemos chequeos del seno y mamogramas gratuitos.
Culture is such that, they don't trust the healthcare system. The fact that they don't speak English, it's a huge barrier.
Many healthcare facilities across the country, like Alivio Medical Center in Chicago, use community health workers to promote early detection through screenings and mammograms. And centers run by qualified Spanish-speaking female staff are important criteria for Latinas seeking medical care.
I have been to institutions where they've asked a kid to translate for the mother. It doesn't come out the way your doctor wants to explain it to you.
Dr. Aida Giacello of the University of Illinois says cultural views on religion, health, and society are also big factors in women delaying treatment.
Latina women are more likely to believe that if you don't worry about breast cancer, you're not going to develop. And even if you develop breast cancer, they believe that using home remedies is an effective way of getting rid of it. A lot of women prefer to die than to go through the process of having their breasts removed.
The ratio of Hispanic women developing breast cancer is lower than any other ethnic group. However, Latinas are less likely to survive this type of cancer, and the reason is very simple. They just don't go for regular mammograms, so by the time the cancer is detected, it's usually too late. I met up with Dr. Ana Mari Quiroz Mesa from the Miami Breast Institute. How dramatic can it be, the difference between somebody that finds a lump by self-examination versus finding a cancer via mammogram?
Okay, I have two examples here that I will show you. This is a patient who came in for a screening mammogram.
The size was around 7 millimeters compared to a much larger 2.8 centimeters from a self-exam.
When it's over a centimeter, your prognosis is much more serious than if it's less than a centimeter, the size of the mass.
So the lesson basically is, yes, do your self-examination, but don't miss that mammogram on a yearly basis.
Always. You always want to examine yourself monthly, in between getting your yearly mammograms, because you may discover something that hasn't been seen yet.
Again, lack of insurance is a big issue. 4 out of every 10 Hispanic women do not have insurance, and for them to pay for a mammogram equals spending the money they earn in 2 weeks. So it's a very, very big deal for them.
I think what was shocking to hear was that more Latino women would rather die than have their breast removed. Do they feel like they're less of a woman?
It's a cultural thing, and of course the males play a big role in all this. But one thing I want to mention, Latina women are the pillars of their families. So many times they forget about themselves. They take care of the kids, they take care of their husbands, and they're last. And it shouldn't be that way.
And Dr. Nancy Snyderman, our chief medical editor, joins us as well. And as we saw, Maria Celeste, I mean, it's not that they're not doing the self-screening. They are doing the self-screening. There's no disconnect there, but it's more in terms of the getting that treatment that they need, right?
And well,
Nancy,
part of it is that our system is top-heavy. We expect people to go to the big universities and to the big hospitals, but there's a disconnect when you look at the cultures in the United States. And I think what we have to do is start to look at the community clinics and how we do outreach programs. We know if you take a place like Harlem, where there's particularly African American people. If we go to Chinatown in San Francisco, we go to Latino communities. The question, I think, has to be asked: how do physicians go to those communities and frankly educate differently based on cultural norms? The breast is an interesting organ because it has sexual connotations. It feeds. We feed our young with our breasts, and so depending on who you're speaking to, surgery, chemotherapy, the conversations are very, very different.
I think it's very important also to get the message, to do it in Spanish, because part of the problem is that there's the prevention
language
messages
barrier.
are not getting to the Hispanic women.
When you have to have a 10-year-old,
of course,
be
translate
between
doctor
very
and
complicated stuff between
Right.
two adults, that really is like playing a telephone with a paper
And early
cup.
detection really is the key here, because as you saw with the size of the cancer when it was detected on a mammogram versus when you actually finally feel it on a self-exam, I mean, there's a huge difference there,
and then
Nancy.
herein lies the rub. If we're talking about people who cannot afford or don't have access to mammography, yet there's a squeamishness for some women to have to examine the breasts all the time, the burden is really on the patient. Well, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you get it checked? And I think we have to say, what's wrong with us, the healthcare community, that we're not doing a better job.
And one of the most worrisome things is that 2/3 of Hispanic women detected by a self-exam, but half of them wait at least a month before seeking
they
help.
even
So
get
that's a
attention.
big issue. And why is that? Because, of course, they cannot keep the appointments because they have a family to take care of, because sometimes they don't know
The
how to go.
insurance issue.
Lack of information, lack of insurance.
Yeah. And lifestyle factors, are there any indications that there could be some involvement there?
Interestingly, we know that the things that can predict, genes being just a very, very, very small amount, hormone replacement therapy in older women, Latina women usually don't do that.
Right.
In fact, the incidence of breast cancer in Latina women lower. But it's the detection and treatment aspect that kicks up the death rate. So if you take a patient population, you go, wait a minute, you're not as predisposed. Why are you doing more poorly? I would say that's why we're not addressing the real questions. Community-based healthcare models, access to quality care, CT scans or mammography that is in fact affordable, and this aspect of culture and language needs to be addressed head on.
The good news is that according to some recent studies, it does show that Latino women are getting screened more regularly. So there is a positive there. The message is getting out. It just needs to get out
And
more.
turn things upside down. Get into the communities. Don't expect people to have to come to you at the big medical centers.
Absolutely.
And women, whether they're Latinas or not, remember that they are first, because if they're not doing well, if their health is bad, the whole family
Women are the
suffers.
nuclei of the
Absolutely.
families. When women fall apart, the whole family falls apart,
So
and it trickles
true.
into the community.
Well said, ladies. Thank you. Maria Celeste Araras, Dr. Nancy Snyderman, thank you so much. And you can find more information on a special section of our website, WeThePeopleTodayShow.com.